This is by far my all-time favorite lens. It's rarely left my camera since I bought it 4 years ago. I've taken thousands and thousands of photographs with it across many countries and in all kinds of conditions. I love the images I've made with it. I was very happy with this lens until a few days ago I made the terrible mistake of watching an old review of it. This lens feels cheap. It's soft at 28 and 35mm. It has no optical stabilization. It's slow. It suffers from heavy chromatic aberration. It doesn't resolve for high-resolution sensors. And what do you know? All of a sudden, I started doubting myself, my eyes, my entire body of work. Why hadn't I noticed all of those flaws before? Could it be that I got so used to them that I don't see them anymore while everyone else is clearly noticing them? And most importantly, is all of my work trash because of this cheap lens? I had to know for sure, so I took a few test shots. Now, I needed to compare it to something else, right? Thankfully, I own this lens. This is one that many online reviews hail as one of the sharpest lenses available in the market today. This is the Sony 35mm 1.4 G Master. This focal length also happens to be the weakest spot of the Tamron lens, so it was perfect for this. So, the one on the right is the 35GM and the one on the left is the Tamron. We need to give it a sec. It's still loading. It's taking a while. Wait, it's not loading. This is set. I could not believe what I was seeing. The difference was staggering. The review was right after all. This lens is very, very soft. It just doesn't resolve the 61 megapixels of my A7R IV. This was bad. Sure enough, before I knew it, I was watching more and more reviews of other lenses. I'm browsing B&H, filling my cart with 2.8 zoom. These lenses were expensive, much bigger and heavier than my beloved super zoom. My images were about to get much sharper, but I was about to lose the flexibility I love so much. I had no idea what to do. I was lost. Alright, this was just a dramatic reenactment of the last couple of days. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I did watch a review that made me question whether the lens was as bad as they claimed it to be, but I examined the images I've made with that lens and the prints I've made of those photographs, and I found nothing wrong with them. Out of curiosity though, I took the time to compare it to the 35GM in a more scientific way, let's say. I shot both lenses at different apertures and looked at not just the center of the frame, but also the corners. What did I find? Well, no surprises here, the GM is sharper, but that difference only becomes noticeable at 200% magnification, and the 28 to 200 does become much sharper when stepped down just a bit, holding its own against an also stepped down GM lens, one that costs twice as much. There was one thing that caught me by surprise though. The 35GM seems to suffer from much worse chromatic aberration when shot wide open compared to the also wide open super zoom. The danger about gear reviews is that they focus on things like sharpness because they are easy, measurable ways to compare lenses objectively. But photography is not a science. I don't know about you, but when I look at these shots, even though the one on the left is clearly not as sharp, it feels more natural and organic to my eye. In fact, lenses have become so sharp these days that many photographers and videographers are resorting to diffusion filters to soften that almost harsh clarity. Personally, I use a black diffusion filter on my video camera and a glimmer glass filter on this 35mm for this very reason. This is a topic for another day, though the point here is that a technically better lens doesn't necessarily mean or make better images. Sometimes it can be the opposite because there's always a compromise to be made. I love both of these lenses, but for different reasons. I really appreciate the versatility that the super zoom zoom lens gives me, and I don't take for granted the performance of the 35 1.4 in low light and the beautiful shallow depth of field that it can produce. This being said, reviews can be very useful to understand what is that you are getting for the money, but always keep in mind your unique, particular use case. We all have very different needs and wants. And by the way, this applies not just to reviews of the latest and greatest gear, but also to those that feed on the latest trend, be it old cameras or film stocks. Don't let anyone, and that includes me, convince you that you need a certain piece of equipment to make good work. The best way to escape this trap has always been getting out and taking some pictures with whatever you already have around. That's what I'm gonna be doing right now with my less than perfect but perfectly lovely super zoom lens. Alright, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.